Now to finish up, while Steve's fetching all the pizza up for you all, in one box each, is I want to talk about devtools. We've talked about library packages. I want to talk about devtools because they need a different approach. And what I'm talking about here are tools like PHPUnit, PHP Code Sniffer, tools that install new terminal commands in your project. They'll create files in vendor bin, or rather their bin files will get linked into vendor bin. And they're normally used to help you write code, but you rarely, if ever, would ship these onto a production box. Okay? So these also cause a problem with when they break backwards compatibility. But can you figure out what it might be? And I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not talking about having to change the way you write unit tests to take advantage of the new approach and changing the test framework class change, for example. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the effect on your vendor folder. Anyone think what it might be? Nope. Well, all this stuff has to live in one vendor folder, and they have dependencies of their own. So they're pulling down modules to put into your vendor folder, which is already populated with your dependencies for your app and their dependencies. So again, it's creating this problem that you can get clashes. You've pulled down let's say you've pulled down a tool and it's using the very latest Symfony stuff, but you've got another tool that hasn't yet moved on to the latest Symfony stuff. It's still using an older version of Symfony, like Symfony 3, for example. You're going to get a clash. So what's the solution to that? We're talking about, for Steve's benefit, we're talking about dev tools now like PHPUnit. And how do you solve the problem when they cause composer version numbering clashes?
Use your technique?
No, these are dev tools, not libraries, so it's a different technique required. Okay, so if you follow Sebastian Bergman on Twitter, his advice was stop installing them via Composer. Download the FAR file and run that instead. Because at that point, you're not putting anything into your vendor folder. You're eliminating these clashes entirely. That was his advice, and it's great advice.
So making things become more global then?
Well, a FAR file is a complete archive of your project, a bit like a Java jar file if you've done any Java. So effectively, it looks like a binary on disk as far as your operating system is concerned. So you can download whatever version of PHPUnit you want and stick it in a folder and just run it. And it's not going to touch any other code on your machine. So it's not going to pollute any vendor folder for any project at all. And if you're an end user, stop adding devtools to your Composer file and start downloading the FAR files instead. So, what do you think? Yeah? Shall we grab some pizza and then come back and discuss it? All right then. Let's do it over pizza. We're right to bring the pizza in here, aren't we? All right.